Yes, sir! It's XL Primetime. Mia O'Brien, Josie, Leon Searcy, Maddie Hayes, and now joining us on the Farrah and Farrah phone line, it is the leader of the Arkansas football program, the head coach, Sam Pittman. Coach, how's it going?
Oh, I'm doing so good. I appreciate you guys asking me to come talk to you a little bit today.
Was my yes, sir, did it meet your standard?
I love that.
Okay.
It was as good as I've heard other than my own.
I've been practicing for months, and we have it as one of our liners here on XL Primetime. We appreciate you joining, Coach. Before we dive into NFL draft and what you guys are, have planned for the fall, can you kind of just walk us through what last season at Arkansas meant to you as the head coach of this program?
Well, I think it's like any season. You have highs and lows. We had more highs, than lows, but it was really a lot of fun because you have your 3 trophy games, which is LSU, Missouri, and A&M, and we were fortunate enough to win all those games, and then going to the bowl and beating a very good Penn State team, and having the 4th trophy, and being as high ranked as 8th in the country, and all those type of things. It was just some things that none of the kids on the team had ever experienced. We'd never had all the trophies. We'd never been ranked higher than somewhere around 22 or something like that in a long time, 10 years. So it's just a lot of fun, and hopefully we can do that again.
Hey, Sam, it's Matt Hayes. Thanks so much for joining us.
Matt.
So the way I look at this, Sam, and I think you kind of undersold it a little bit. You beat Texas. You beat Texas A&M, which really hasn't been the easiest thing to do for Arkansas of late. You beat LSU. You're within 7 points of Alabama. You win 9 games. Now you're coming up this season. The target is now clearly on your back. Have you guys been talking about that in the spring, that now it's, you're not sneaking up on anybody anymore? Now people know what Arkansas is all about.
I don't know that we've talked it in that terms, but probably in a roundabout way, yes. We talked about, being underdogs and having a chip on our shoulder, and the only way we can win is loyalty to each other and being tough and playing hard. Hopefully that's a staple of our program. But I think, yes, in a roundabout ways we've said it. We talked about the ESPN FBI come out and we're not in the top 25, and there's a lot of schools whom we've been fortunate enough to win that are, and things of that nature. So we're trying to keep that chip, that hunger, that not disrespect, but the not maybe just not respected team. And I get it. While we haven't been relevant, for several years. So I understand that, but I like exactly where we are in that we're still fighting and scratching all the time.
Sam, how is that possible you guys are not in the top 25 of college football? Considering not only the conference you're playing, but the division you play in, and what you did last year, and what you bring back. Your quarterbacks might be the best quarterback in the league that's not named Bryce Young. How is that even possible?
Well, I don't know. I don't know the formula and all that kind of stuff. And honestly, I really don't care. I would rather it be we're not in it than we're 10th, because you can't use 10 as a negative, and so I'd rather it be that way. But I really don't know what the formula is for, the FBI.
Now, Coach, wouldn't you agree that the strength of your team last year was your offensive line, and you've got 4 of the 5 returning starters for next year going into this spring? Are they solidified as far as your 4 starters from last year, or is there a competition this spring that you're looking forward to seeing?
I love the question. The answer is always there's competition, but at the same time, we've got a kid named Tykees Crawford that I think can play for a lot of folks, and he's really had a good spring. And Luke Jones has kind of tried to step in at the left tackle spot with Manuel. To answer your question, I think we're pretty solid with the 4 guys coming back, but we've got to find a place to put Tykees Crawford on the field because he's really had a nice spring. So you're right. I think it was the strength of certainly our offense. And with having all those guys back, it starts at center with Ricky Stromberg. You have to have a good center. Everybody talks about the tackles. You can't function without them either. But the center and the quarterback's the only one to touch the ball every snap. and you better have a good one. And fortunately, we do.
We're talking with Sam Pittman, head coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks, Pig Suey. We know Arkansas fans are out there fired up now. I'm just going to ask you to go back, Coach, if you can, and we're going to go back to those first 2 Saturdays in October. Highly hyped game against Georgia. We know that it didn't go you guys' way, but then the next week you have a huge victory over a highly regarded Mississippi team. Can you remember, Coach, and maybe give us a little sample of what you said in the locker room after each of those games?
Well, against Georgia, I felt terrible because we were 8th in the country, college game day, and we didn't play well. It was my fault. I didn't have the team ready. I should have had them better prepared for the noise. It was 11 o'clock game, and now let's say this too. Georgia had the best team in college football. Yeah. And I'm not for sure, if we were ready, that football team, that they wouldn't beat us more than we beat them. They had a really good team. After the game, I just said, hey, let's roll up our sleeves and let's go back to work. What we're doing is working. It didn't work today, and there's no panic in there. Now we're 4-1 instead of 4-0, and we'll drop down in the rankings and all that, but let's go back to work, which we did. And then the next week after the Ole Miss game, obviously I elected to go for 2, and we didn't make it with no time left. And basically, I want to do what I say, and I had made up my mind on the last drive that we were going to go for 2 and get out of there and win the game if we could score. I told the offense, don't come off the field when we score, and they scored. We scored with no time left, and we went for 2, weren't able to make it. And after that game, I think we did. The team backed myself, our coaches, in that we did the right thing. Mm-hmm. At the time, it felt good. I just wish we'd have scored.
We're joined by Arkansas head coach Sam Pittman on the Farrah and Farrah phone line. And, Coach, was looking to already transition this conversation a little bit towards the NFL draft and some of the guys you have heading into the draft this literally a week from today. But let's hang on that Georgia line for a second, because obviously you were a part of that program. You were involved in the recruitment of those guys. Kind of walk us through, as an offensive line guy, going up against, on the defensive side, this heralded Georgia defense in practice while you were up there. Who stands out the most with so many of them projected to be first, second rounders in the draft next week?
Oh, my God. I mean, Jordan Davis gets the hype, which is well-deserved. Quay Walker. I mean, excuse me. They've got so many players up there. I don't know that, they lost one, that's going to get picked probably in the first round too, that Jermaine left and went to Florida State. I mean, they're so talented, but they play so hard, and then on the offensive line over there, they pounded us that day and turned around and hand the ball off, and they did it the entire day, and with Jamari and Justin and those guys who are in the draft this year, and so I mean, Kirby believes exactly, or I believe exactly what Kirby does, and that it's a big man's league, and you've got to get big on both sides of the line, and they have, and they're talented now. They've done a great job recruiting, and I talked to Kirby about it a little bit on Kirby, like I'm sure what he felt like in the national championship game our second year when I was at Georgia, and he's looking over across the ball and going, man, I helped recruit a bunch of those guys out there now, dang, And I kind of at times felt the same way. I'm going, man, I recruited these guys, and then here we come back. We've had to play Georgia twice, 2 years in a row, right. One because of COVID, and they're in the East, then for whatever reason we were picked to play them twice. So,
since you mentioned his name, and he's another name in addition to the other Walker that are getting a lot of traction potentially here in Jacksonville on a lot of the mock drafts, Quay Walker, Trayvon Walker. What makes those two guys first, early second-round picks?
Motor, athletic ability. I mean, they both can run. I mean, but size, you just don't get that particular size with that speed and relentless effort, and both of them are great players. Great kids, too, by the way.
Sam, so let's talk about one of your guys, Treylon Burks, just a phenomenal talent. Didn't run that well, but he seems to me like a guy, especially when you watch him in games, he's got that game speed. What about him makes him a unique type of guy outside on the outside?
His ability to catch the ball. I mean, he's got great leaping ability, great timing, big hands. He can. He's an athlete. He can throw the ball, he can kick the ball. He's just an athlete from Warren, Arkansas. But I think his the way that he would relate to his teammates will make his teammates better. And again, he hadn't been caught, so he might be 4.5, but you know how it is. You can get a guy who runs 4.3, and I'm not saying that all of them do. I'm just saying you can get a guy who runs 4.3 and he runs 4.7 on the football field.
Yeah.
Burks runs 4.5 and he runs 4.5 whenever whenever he's toting the ball, and it's proven at least in this league that that's plenty fast enough.
Now, Coach, at the end of the season, Arkansas was very consistent in the transfer portal, and these guys that you came in, I mean, what kind of impact have they had during this spring, and what kind of impact are you looking forward to them having this season?
I'll tell you what, it's such a great question because we hit. I mean, we hit in the portal. We went in the portal. I believe you build your program through the high school, and so we always save about 5 scholarships for the transfer portal. And then this year we were allotted another 7, because of 25+7 rule. But we hit. Nudie McLaughlin came in and has played really well. For example, certainly Drew Sanders is a talented kid. Landon Jackson from LSU. We've hit. We've seen enough out of them out of spring ball that they're going to help us. Not necessarily even in the depth part of it, but starting for us, and in some cases, as good as we have on the team. So we've hit. We still have 3 more out there that we have 3 scholarships left, and we're going to try to go get us 3 more.
A couple more for Sam Pittman, coach of Arkansas, who just got a new deal inked, and I think there are a few things in this world that go together, like that school and that coach. I mean, I truly mean that, Coach. I love the way it has worked out for you. Spend another minute, if you will, on KJ Jefferson, because I really think he's going to have. What did you ask him to do this offseason to be one tick better?
Well, I think he's got to lose a little bit of weight. He knows that he's got to be more accurate with his throwing game, which I think he's improved. He's a lot better quarterback than he was last year and last spring, and certainly that's a lot of it has to do with confidence from the season. We have to run him, so you want to keep weight on him, but yet be able to get away from low tackles and things of that nature, which I believe carrying extra weight doesn't allow you to do at times, especially if you get tired faster. So we've asked him to do that, and we've asked him to become a more vocal leader on the football team, and he certainly has done that. We really probably didn't even ask him to do that because that's pretty natural for him. But I like him a lot. I like a running quarterback, like a guy that can do both. It balances up the box a little bit. I love what we do on offense because he could be the runner as quickly as the tailback, and I just think he's a really good leader for us, and he's tough.
Hey, Sam, before we let you go, I want to ask you about the NIL and the impact of these collectives and the amount of money that are now coming out of these. I mean, Florida just announced another one today, Sam. I don't know if you've seen this. And within the last 3 hours, it's gone from $1 million to $5 million. They have $5 million in it already. And they already have their huge collective that they started months ago. How much of an impact is this going to make on recruiting, on keeping guys, on recruiting your roster every year, the stuff you guys have to deal with now?
Well, I think the intention of the rule was to earn money off of your name, image, and likeness and I think the intention, I don't know this, was when you get to college. Now, then it trickled down into high school and all those things, and I understand that. It's out of control, to be honest with you, and I'm gonna get hit because, well, you just signed a new contract. Da, 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 da. I understand that, but hopefully, I've earned that in the college game. Every one of our student athletes has an opportunity to earn NIL. I'm all for it. When it first started, I said, you want to grow your NIL, you make a tackle, you throw a touchdown pass, you knock somebody on the behind, you tackle somebody, you do whatever, and you'll get as much NIL as any other school in the country. It's not so much headed that way in recruiting right now. But I think the intention of the rule where these kids can make money off their name, image, and likeness was a very, very good rule. It's just gotten a little bit with the outside collective. It's gotten a little bit dangerous, to be honest with you.
Hey, Sam, before we let you go here on the Farrah and Farrah phone line, I have to ask, not only, as Joe C. mentioned, are you a perfect fit for this Arkansas football program, the guy leading that basketball program in Fayetteville, can you give us some insight into the craziest thing that Eric Musselman has done? I know, obviously, when he took his shirt off and he ran around with the arm brace after they beat Auburn, that was a big one. What's your favorite Musselman moment, and what's your relationship like with him?
Well, I just like to see his pregame speeches because a bunch of them I go, huh? I mean, that's just him, and it works, obviously, been the Elite Eight 2 years in a row now. But, I asked him and Dave Van Horn, the baseball coach, legendary baseball coach, to stand on the sideline with us at A&M game, and I really appreciate that. And he, I guess he's a lot hype. He's a little crazier than me, and he couldn't believe how calm I was before the game. And I said, well, hell, I ain't playing. I mean, why should I be? I mean, I'm not going to go out there and make a tackle or get hit. So, but he's a wonderful supporter of the University of Arkansas and the football program, as all the coaches are. But he's just a very unique man that loves the state of Arkansas just like I do.
All right, so before you go, it's a little bit of a ritual, we hope, and we hope you always provide this for us. So there's some people on the text line. Lunch hour is about to end here, Coach, and they're like, I don't want to go back to work unless I hear a yes, sir. So can you just give us one on your way out the door?
I usually don't, but because of y'all been so kind, and the yes, sir coming on was really good.
Yeah!
Yes, sir!
That's a win right there.
That is the best.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it, brother.
Thank you, Coach.